most of our nearly 240-year history as a constitutional republic, the right to keep and bear arms was never seriously questioned.
But people notice when every week there is a new story of a school shooting all across the country and Congress does absolutely nothing about it.
The vast majority of murders in this country that are committed with guns are not committed with assault weapons, they're committed with handguns.
It has only been in the last 30 or 40 years that this inalienable right has been challenged.
The Second Amendment is crucial because it prevents the rise of a tyrannical state by giving citizens the means to defend themselves from a potentially oppressive government.
With the history out of the way, let's investigate why some people think that the framers put the Second Amendment into the Constitution.
I think that they wanted people to have the right to bear arms for hunting, for self-defense, and to keep themselves free.
The power of just one man being able to have a firearm is to say that one man has in his possession an insurance check, a check and balances of an entire federal government.
Recently, there have been many tragedies in the United States that are linked to firearms. Many believe that these would be lessened if more limitations were placed on the Second Amendment. Others are concerned that these limitations would take power away from the people. This reduction of power would make it easier for a corrupted government to take advantage of its citizens, possibly leading to a deadly repetition of our dark history.
When you put too much restrictions on gun ownership, you're preventing the law-abiding citizen, or you're establishing more hoops, and then ironically, you're not doing a thing to prevent a criminal from getting a gun, because there are so many restrictions on getting for criminals to get guns. They don't get them through any legal means.
We are beginning to see anti-gun legislators attempting to restrict certain firearms. Many on the left agree, however, those on the right side of the political spectrum say that it might infringe on their rights. With this in mind, it is important to ask, does the Second Amendment only apply to specific weapons?
The Second Amendment is, when it says bear arms, in a loose sense, to arms, I would say anything hand-carried that is not of a military nature.
While I consider a machine gun to be an arm, I think it's sensible that there's a restriction on the ability to purchase and own a weapon of war like that.
There are many misconceptions about what the most dangerous weapon is to the common American. Some believe that rifles are the most dangerous and that they are the cause of most deaths. However, in the last 4 years, the average percent of gun murders that were committed by rifles consisted of only 0.035%, according to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting website. In fact, you are 5 times more likely to be killed with a knife than you are a rifle.
But I think we can also agree that handguns typically are the most prevalent, they're the most easiest to obtain, at least in my career that I've seen. So yeah, I think handguns would probably be at the top of the list.
The statistics do not back up the amount of people being killed by rifles, much less the term assault rifle. So it's statistically insignificant, but it makes the news.
It's easy to sympathize with the victims of mass shootings and murders because what happened to them is unjustifiable. However, when it comes to issues concerning the founding ideals of our nation, we must put emotion aside and look what is actually happening from a factual standpoint.
But gun violence as a whole is smaller than we have crashes in our country, in car crashes. Gun violence is bad, but it's basically a problem with our society, a violent society.
Do we have an issue with assaults with firearms? We do. I really believe that. I think that we need to pay attention to the stats. We need to look at the geography. We need to look at the demographics of where these incidences are occurring.
And when we start down the road of picking apart the Constitution to fit a certain political agenda, my friends, we are headed toward a very dark place in government called tyranny.
Every piece of anti-gun legislation passed weakens our power as the people and infringes on our liberties. As the people, we must stop this from happening. For this very reason, the framers put the Second Amendment into the Constitution.